AITA for trying to help a victim of sex trafficking. So, backstory, I am 22, I'm staying with my mother in a hotel because our house is being rebuilt, and she needs help after having had surgery, so I'm sharing a double room with her. Yesterday night, I was outside on the phone, and a random girl walked up to me. She's a skinny white girl, no more than 100 pounds soaking wet, and she asks me if I have a jacket. I told her I did not, I genuinely didn't, and she told me she was stranded in the city, that she lived an hour and a half away and no one was coming to get her. She asked if she could stay in the lobby, and I told her to go to the front desk. I'm very cautious, so I was not trying to be overly friendly right away in case this was some sort of trap or something, but I also felt awful for leaving her out there by herself. It's 2 a.m., pitch black outside. I walked to the lobby to see if she got in. She did not. No loitering. She had nowhere to go, and I'm thinking to myself, there's no way in hell I can let this girl just be alone, stranded with shorts and a tank top on in the middle of the night in the city. So I introduced myself. She told me she was 18 and we sat outside. Let's call her Jane. I grabbed her a towel, didn't have a blanket, to wrap around her and a snack from my room. She then told me that she met a girl online who offered her a job, modeling, and came to pick her up for the interview. What Jane was not told was that the girl, let's call her Kay, would be bringing her boyfriend. Once they arrived in the city I'm currently staying in, they went to a hotel, and that's when the truth came out. They didn't just want modeling. They wanted Jane to do other stuff, but she never told me what kind of stuff. She was visibly embarrassed and traumatized. She told them no, and the two began berating her, telling her that Kay makes a lot of money going from hotel to hotel doing stuff, and that she was acting weird for letting them drive her all the way there, etc. She left the car and got away. Let's fast forward, so I'm not holding you for too long. We are sitting outside, and an old woman in the hotel brings Jane a blanket. I asked Jane multiple times since the beginning of the story of what she wanted me to call the police, and she said no. I was afraid if I did, she'd run away before the cops got here or something, so I didn't at first. She eventually fell asleep on the grass beside me, and I called the police. Told them everything. They arrived, like 4 cars. It was wild, and they began questioning me and her. I told them I'd never forgive myself if I left her out here and she got assaulted or worse. I told them how I felt terrible for betraying her trust, but I needed to make sure she was okay and that if anything happened, I didn't want to be accused of something either. They ran her record. She had no criminal record, she wasn't on drugs, and they looked through the messages she had with the woman. They told me I did the right thing because she was about to be a victim of sex trafficking. Unfortunately, they wouldn't take her home, and she couldn't stay outside the hotel because it's private property. They couldn't leave unless she had somewhere to go, so I asked my mom if she could sleep on our floor for the night. She said yes. I oft told my mom everything as it was happening, and she was the one who told me to go ahead and call the police. So Jane stayed the night with the plan of trying to see if any of her friends would come get her the next day. The next day comes, and she's calling family and friends all day. It becomes clear to me, even more than originally, that Jane comes from a broken home. Her family was telling her it was her dumbass fault for being stupid, and that she should clean up the mess she made herself. Her mom is a meth head and was so careless about the situation. It was heartbreaking hearing her say, "Mom, I almost sex trafficked." And her mom said, "What do you want me to do about it?" Jane told me about her past, her drug addiction that her mom got her on at 15, her recovery, etc. All the while, my mom is at an appointment. So, fast forward a few hours, I call my brother for advice. He offers to give her money for a bus ticket home. By the time he sends it, it's too late. She'd have to take the city transit to the bus station, Greyhound, and the transit only comes every hour, and the bus would be gone by the time she got there on the next transit. It was also the only bus heading her home's direction today. My mom finally called me and said, "Look, I'm almost home. She needs to be gone when I get there." My sister calls me, fussing me out about putting myself and mom in danger. My other sister did the same thing. I told them I tried to have some compassion because if I left her out there with no one and she got assaulted or killed, I felt like it'd be on my hands. I told them I understood the danger and I was cautious throughout the whole thing, but that it became clear it wasn't a setup, and if they were in my shoes, they'd do the same. They all said the exact same thing: no, I wouldn't. I'd tell her I couldn't help her anymore and go inside. I had already told her that if a guy she asked to come get her couldn't, she'd have to go to a homeless shelter. I never planned on her staying another night, to begin with. I even offered to call the crisis unity, ambulance, etc. I did not have any money for an Uber, but still, the reaction to my trying to help just felt so disgusting to me. I told her, and she said it was okay, that she appreciated my help. She eventually left with some random guy she asked for a ride after I told her she had to leave the room, and she wasn't able to stay on the premises. I gave her my number and told her to give me updates and let me know if she got home safely. She left today. IDK if I said that already or not, my bad, and I'm praying that guy does nothing to her. I felt so sick to my stomach hearing my family say that stuff. Don't get me wrong, I'm not naive. I know the types of schemes traffickers do and how they use their victims as bait to set people up, and I was very cautious about how I handled it and had a weapon on me in case I needed to defend myself the best I could muster, but the fact that they all looked at me like was the villain for trying to help this girl as much as I could. IDK. Maybe I messed up. So, yeah, you saw the title, probably could have been worded better. Am I the naive, careless asshole? Apologies for any typos or poor grammar. I'm still very irritated by the situation. Edit, anyone who assumes that I refuse to call the police ever is wrong. I may have worded that initial part incorrectly. Upon first meeting, I was already very cautious because I didn't want to be accused of anything, and I didn't know if this girl was trying to set me up. So, I was trying to keep her calm. She wasn't crying or anything. She was just nervous and visibly scared and embarrassed. I had planned to call the cops, I just didn't want to at first because I didn't know what she would do. Once I saw she seemed to be at least somewhat genuine, I called my mom, who told me to call the cops, so I did. I wasn't just being overly friendly assuming she had zero chance of being dangerous, and she wasn't a tweaker because while skinny, it was a natural skinny, not a gaunt meth head skinny. She was just a petite girl. And she was way too calm to be on meth. Please like and share the video, and don't forget to subscribe. On to the next story. AITA for getting mad at my GF after she took another dude on a date. Before my girlfriend, 20F, met me, 20M, she was talking to another guy online through Reddit. It started as her asking a question for interview prep in a subreddit. Some guy responded to her, and then they started talking. They became friends, sending reels and whatnot. After a while, she developed a crush on him for a short duration. Now, she says that she has no feelings towards him and that it is completely platonic. I trusted her and thought nothing of it because they had never even seen each other in person. Fast forward to last week, we were long distance for over a month because I went back home for a little bit to see family. She told me briefly that she was meeting a lot of people that same week. Her friend from high school was coming back, so she went shopping with her on Friday. Then her guy friend was coming into the city for an internship and asked to grab coffee with her. Once I landed and Saturday rolled around, she met up with me in the morning and we hung out for a bit. She said she'd be meeting him today just to catch up and invited me to come along too, but it felt awkward to go meet a random guy and I had a meeting then anyway, so I said no. During my meeting, she ended up leaving to go have her coffee chat with the guy. My meeting ended up taking an hour and a half, and she still hadn't arrived back. She was out for even longer. About 30 minutes later, I get a call from her and she sounds super cheery and happy. That made me quite sad for some reason. She was wearing a dress that she bought for me to see the day before. It was kind of revealing at the top with very thin straps, but looked very pretty. I am not the type of boyfriend to get too offended by her clothes because she felt confident in her skin. But she ended up going to coffee with the guy for over 2 hours in that dress. After I met her, we went shopping. While walking around, I basically had to fake a smile the whole time and be happy. But I wasn't. This was because I thought all she would do was get coffee and that was it. Probably wouldn't take more than 30 minutes, I thought. Apparently, they walked around the city and even went to a bakery and got pastries together. Now that sounds like a little more than a coffee chat, doesn't it? It rubbed me the wrong way. I kept thinking about it and looks like this guy is pretty impressive, doing 2 internships at the same time and also working at a company my girlfriend really wants to work at too. She said all these things about wanting to network and just see what he was about because they only spoke online for this whole time. She also said that after we started dating that she told him right away and became drier and drier with her responses. He would reach out to her on Instagram, but it slowed down while we were dating where it was the occasional birthday wish or something. I want to trust her, but AITA for getting mad that she took a guy friend out, or am I being over-controlling? Update, AITA for getting mad at my GF for taking another dude on a date. Recently I posted about how my girlfriend took another dude on a coffee chat that lasted over 2 hours where they walked around the city and got pastries. First, thanks for all the advice. It was pretty eye-opening to get all the different opinions, and while I may not agree with everything everyone said, it was good to think about. Sorry for the long post, just gonna dump what happened and my thoughts. I'll try to be quick. TLDR, we made up and she understands that Reddit guy was trying to get in her pants. But what do I do about the guy? Yesterday, I went crazy thinking the worst things. Broke down, cried, got mad at the world, worked out, meditated, and collapsed. Woke up and got a good morning text from my GF saying she wanted to meet up. I responded dry saying I had work so we could meet after. We met. Awkward silence. Then I asked how she was doing. She said she was mad. I was confused cause I was mad. Why was she? She was mad because I was mad at her and said she didn't think I trusted her. Then I told her I did trust her and her intentions, I just didn't trust the other guy. The first thing I made clear was that she took him on a date, not a coffee chat. I know coffee chats mean different things for different people, and even when you catch up with a friend, I understand you might take an hour or 2. But to go around the city, take pictures, he brought a camera, and get pastries with a guy you're meeting for the first time, that's ironically exactly what we did on our first date. I asked her out to coffee, we walked around the same street they walked, and got boba because she loves boba. A lot of things in this interaction were parallel to our first date, and once I showed her that, I think she understood where I was coming from. Now that I established that it wasn't just a coffee chat, I told her I was mad because she was giving him the wrong idea and leading him on. I genuinely believe she was just naive because I have been her first for everything, so she doesn't really have much experience with guys. So I spelled it out for her. I know meeting other guys alone, especially those I don't know. Edit, I told her that if she has a valid reason to see another guy like for her job or something, I can understand. It's about communication, didn't want to come off as super controlling. I should have been more responsible before and told her this the moment she talked about meeting this dude that she previously liked. She was convinced that this was different because he was just a friend, nothing else. Then I had to show her, this guy is not who he seems. I asked her to pull out her phone and show me the messages leading up to them meeting up. I gave her my phone unlocked and told her she could go through it too if she wanted. She declined. First thing that bothered me was she opened the text messaging app, which meant the guy had her number. They met before me so they probably exchanged information, but I remember her telling me that he asked for her number first and she refused and gave him her Instagram instead. This whole time, I thought they were just talking on Instagram or Reddit, so this was news to me. She held the phone and scrolled up to the messages. Why not give me the phone and let me scroll? I thought whatever, I'm glad she's not making a fuss. I scroll and the conversation is pretty long. They planned on meeting up 3 weeks in advance. He kept asking her questions the whole time, initiating most of the conversations. There are days gaps in between some convos, and she initiates some of them too. He is making jokes and teasing her, sending her reels based on their convos. The weird part was he was asking about good bars to go to, and my GF doesn't even drink or go to bars. I also remember her asking me about good bars out of the blue once around this time, so looks like I basically helped my mortal enemy find a decent pub in the city SMH. This is the kicker. She is the one who suggested going out in the city to walk around and stuff. I get that she is being friendly to the guy and whatever, but this was unexpected. She told me about coffee. I assumed it just happened to turn into stroll around the city and hang out. But it was planned that way. After I saw this, I stopped reading and just looked at her. She was looking at the phone perplexed. I think she was reading the whole conversation in a new way and looks like she understood now that it wasn't just a friendly convo. The whole time whenever I asked her about what she talks about with this guy, she just says he sends me stupid reels now and then. I told her, this guy isn't trying to just be friends with you. Why would a random guy on Reddit want your number in the first place? I ended by asking her if she understand my perspective and she agreed. She apologized and said she didn't know guys worked like that, specific to how even though he knew she was dating me, he was still going after her. She said she wouldn't do it again, and I made sure she understood that as her BF, it's my responsibility to keep her safe, so she should not be meeting other dudes alone that I don't know. I am fine with her talking to my friends, and even then my friends know not to be one-on-one with her. She was a little frustrated that she could no longer do whatever she wanted like she used to, but that are the compromises we make as part of a relationship. I also told her that I follow my own words very seriously, so I don't and never have hung out with another girl one-on-one since we started dating. We said we love each other, started aggressively making out on the bench. We were that couple. Overall, happy ending. Question though, should I force her to block him? I don't want to force her to burn bridges when she made a mistake, just be wary of the guy.